Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to part two of today's inset. As we start, let's have our opening prayer.
Our ever-loving Father, the core of every reason, the source of truth. You who made the earth and the heavens, are the ultimate goal of every knowledge seekers, the infinite wisdom, the cause of all that is good. We are truly grateful for this opportunity to gather together as a community despite the challenges we face each day. Yet we remain and gave us strength to carry on the responsibilities of bearing intelligence and using them for better purposes. We now humbly ask you to join us in our endeavor to explore the wonders of life in the world for knowledge's sake, that in whatever we learn today, we become more grounded to you, who is truth, who is love. We pray that you bless our speakers, the fount of your infinite knowledge, that they can share something worthwhile despite the limited time we have. They can channel all they know and share to us the beauty and truth of living as your child. We pray that you guide our participants, the seekers of your boundless knowledge, that they may continue to persevere in the search and be deemed worthy to share what they learn from today's session. Sanctify us, O Lord, not because we are worthy of it, but because we believe in your love and mercy, that at the end of the day, we can take home something that's amazing and meaningful. This we ask and pray in Christ our Lord. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Learning Assessment in the New Normal Part 2. Before we start our the part 2 of today's inset, let us have a small recap of what happened in the part 1. So we learned that in part 1 there are different types of assessment. Assessment is the gathering and collecting of data of students' learning evidences. So we have also different types. We have formative assessment, summative assessments, and the like. So now, before we continue for today's inset, let me introduce myself. So hello, I am Nino Philip Fernandez, a Special Science Teacher 1 at President Carlos P. Garcia Technical Vocational School of Fisheries and Arts. And my partner is Miss Marijol B. Avenido, a secondary school teacher 2 of President Carlos P. Garcia Technical Vocational School of Fisheries and Arts. So let me give you the floor to Miss Marijol Avenido.
Hello everyone, this is Marijol B. Avenido. Before we start our part 2 session, I will show you a video clip of a teacher having a hard time in identifying written words and performance tasks. can you say about Mama Marina's thoughts? I personally, we have similar thoughts on identifying written works and performance tasks. Almost all teachers experience this dilemma. And we are teachers, we must be flexible in dealing this challenge. Before before we proceed, you need to answer the following self-reflections. Number one, define classroom assessment in your own words. Number two, as a teacher, when do you use rubrics in assessment? Assessing written works and performance tasks. Written works shall be administered to assess essential knowledge and understanding through quizzes and long or unit tests. These written works refers to the traditional way of assessing learners, which is the pen and paper test. Items should be distributed across the cognitive process dimensions. The Deped order number 8, series 2015, page 4, using a combination of selected response and constructed response formats so that all are adequately covered. These cognitive process dimensions include remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. It may be used as guide in lesson development but also in the formulation of assessment tasks and activities. Performance tasks refers to assessment that allow learners to show what they know and are able to in diverse ways. Performance tasks are learning activity or assessment that ask learners to do, to perform, to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. It yields a tangible product that serves as evidence of learning. They may create or innovate products or do performance-based tasks, which may include skill demonstrations, products, and research projects. Do you know John Dewey? According to John Dewey, schools are connected with life and child's experiences. It, learning by doing is also in his theory, wherein a learner cannot learn if he or she will not try to do it. For clarity, it is our school convention to consider all rubric-rated tasks will be classified as performance tasks. Again, all rubric-rated tasks will be classified as performance tasks, and all answer key type tests be classified as written work outputs. Performance tasks must be designed to provide opportunities for learners to apply what they are learning. So, what is the purpose of this performance task? These performance tasks help show learners what real life is and what real work is. In addition, teachers should take into consideration the following. Each task must be accompanied with clear directions and appropriate scoring tools. Examples, checklist, the rubrics, rating scale, and etc. to help learners demonstrate their learning. So upon doing the performance tasks, learners may develop practical lifelong skills. Letter B, teachers are advised to collaboratively design and implement performance tasks that integrate two or more competencies within or across subject areas. Complex tasks may be broken down into shorter tasks to be completed over longer periods of time. Letter C, learners must be given flexibility in accomplishing their performance tasks. Hence, time and resources available to them must be well considered beforehand. Nonetheless, all learners within the class should be assessed in the same competencies using the same tool. So what do you call this tool being used by a teacher? Why do we need to use this kind of tool? Rubrics. Rubrics is a tool for teachers. Rubrics are useful tools that help teachers make consistent judgment about the quality of learners' work. It also defines what is expected and what will be assessed. So what is the importance of these rubrics? It helps students, parents, teacher to identify what quality work is, and students can judge their own work and accept more responsibilities of the final project. It is a learning and assessment tool that is used to evaluate outputs, products, or performance-based. It is a scoring guide that articulates the expectations and describes the level of quality expected from a learner. There are three essential parts of a rubric: the task description or the descriptive title. It contains what are expected of students to perform or produce. Next, scale and scoring. It describes the level of mastery. Example, exceed expectation, meets expectation, and doesn't meet expectation. Last one is the components or the criteria. It is the part where students are to attend to in completing the assignment or task description of the performance quality. The performance descriptor is the components or the dimensions at each level of mastery. Portfolio assessment methods. So what is a portfolio? These are the collection of learners' works that show their efforts, achievements, and progress. There are features and principles of portfolio assessment. So what is a portfolio assessment? It provides an opportunity for a student to reflect on their learning, to self-assess, and to formulate deeper understanding of the concepts. The first feature and principle. A portfolio is a form of assessment that students do together with their teachers. The teachers guide the students in the planning, execution, and evaluation of the contents of the portfolio. It is an assessment where students and teachers do together. Next, it represents a selection of what the students believe are best included from among the possible collections of things related to the concept being studied. It represents of what the students believe related to the concept being studied. A portfolio provides samples of the student's work, which shows growth over time. It provides all the sample works of the students where it can show if the students really learn and grow. Next, the criteria for selecting and assessing the portfolio contents must be clear to the students at the outset of the process. It must provide a clear mindset and criteria of how the portfolio be assessed. Purposes of portfolio assessment. It provides an opportunity for a learner to reflect on their learning, to self-assess their real performance, and to show their weak and strong domain. It encourages learners to take responsibilities for their own learning. Portfolio assessment matches assessment to teaching. It relates and connects the assessment into teaching. Portfolio assessment has clear goals. In fact, they are decided on that at the beginning of instruction and are clear to teacher and students alike. It has clear goals that must have to achieve. Portfolio assessment gives a profile of learners' abilities in terms of depth, breadth, and growth, meaning it gives profile to the students of their ability and how they grow as a learner. Portfolio assessment is a tool for assessing a variety of skills not normally testable in a single setting for traditional testing. Serves as a tool for better assessment for a variety of skills in a classroom setting. Portfolio assessment caters to individuals in a heterogeneous class, meaning it provides a heterogeneous classroom setting. Portfolio assessment develops social skills. Students interact with other students in the development of their own portfolio. It makes the students be sociable and be engaged in a series of activities. Portfolio assessment develops independent and active learners. It produces independent and active learners. Portfolio assessment can improve motivation for learning and thus achievement. So it motivates the student for learning and environment. Portfolio assessment provides opportunity for student-teacher dialogue. It provides student-teacher conference.
Thank you, Ms. Marajul Avenido, for giving us what portfolio assessment is and what are the purposes of portfolio assessment. Now, what we are going to discuss are the essential elements of a portfolio. First is the cover letter or the cover itself. It tells us about the author and what your portfolio is all about as a learner. It is written at the end, but you need to put it at the beginning of the portfolio. This is to give the audience or the teacher a glimpse of why or the summary of all your hard works doing the portfolio. So table of contents with numbered pages. So this is an example of a table of contents. Though it doesn't have numbered pages, it's still okay because as long as there is table of contents. Next are the entries. In the entries, you'll be putting all the works that are needed as what Ms. Marjol Avenido have told us a while ago, that we need to have the best entries and other necessary parts that you want to check in the portfolio. Also are the dates of all entries to facilitate proof of growth over time. So it is also included in our portfolio assessment. Then the drafts of oral, and written products and revised editions. So we have the first draft, second draft, corrected, revised, and the final copy. You can also put some small reflections of that specific items. Reflections is very important part in portfolio assessment. Reflections can appear at the different stages in the learning process for formative and or summative assessment. Students can choose to reflect upon some of all the learnings. So for example, what did you learn from it? What did you do well? Why did you choose this item? What do you want to improve in the item? How do you feel about your performance? And what were the problem areas that you have encountered? So reflections are key for teachers to know if there are something that you felt as you were doing the portfolio, as you were doing the activity. This is for us to know also, or for teachers to know why is it that you have chosen this specific product, why you have chosen this specific entry for this portfolio assessment. And what have you felt doing it? Did you feel improvements in yourself? These are very necessary tool in portfolio assessment, because also for me personally, portfolio assessment is telling us how you feel, telling us your progress, and telling us your overall performance from the beginning and at the end of a quarter. So we have tackled already the different parts of a portfolio assessment. Now we'll be talking about the stages in implementing portfolio assessment. These stages are important and needs to be done so that our portfolio assessment will become a successful one. Stage 1 is to identify each goal to assess for the portfolio assessment or through that portfolio assessment. So what are the things that we want to check? What are the things that we want to do? What is our vision in the portfolio? Is the stage one. Why are we doing this? Are we doing this to give burden to our learners? No. So for us to say no, we should have a goal. We should have a vision on why we are doing this portfolio. In stage two, we have to introduce the idea of portfolio assessment to our class. Why do we need to do it? Since portfolio assessment is still under a performance task, but inside of it are different written and performance tasks, we need to introduce it. Like a while ago, we have told our learners that for portfolio assessment, for performance tasks, we need to tell our students what we want to know from them, what we want to check, what are the standards, what are the rubrics. So we have to give that also. Hence, in doing portfolio assessment, we have to tell our learners because it should be a collaborative work between the learner and the learner himself. So they ask themselves, the learner and their classmates, the learner and the teacher. It is a collaborative work of all. Well, it's an individual task, but it's a collaborative effort of all the people inside the classroom. The learner, his or her classmates, and his or her teacher. Stage 3 is a specification of portfolio content. What do we want to get or what do we want to check inside the portfolio? This specification of portfolio content will give us a hint or will give learners a hint on what to do specifically. It will give them a glimpse of what their vision that they want to make inside their portfolio. Well, portfolio is an individual task with proper standards in it, but still, students can put their personal effort and personal designs and whatever they want to make inside their portfolio. Next stage is the giving clear and detailed guidelines for portfolio. Even though we want them to have their own freedom in doing the task, we want them to have a clear and guided things while making the portfolio. This is to ensure that learners will not be doing things that are not necessary. Next stage is informing key school officials, parents, and other stakeholders. Why do we want to tell our stakeholders, our school officials, and our parents? Why do we need them to be involved in this one? Portfolio assessment is like a story of a learner. It gives us the idea of the progress of the learner, gives us the idea of how the learner was doing right from the very start up to the end. And our key officials, our parents, and our stakeholders are the ones who wants to know how our learners are doing. So we need to inform these people so that they will be knowledgeable in the performances of our learners. And next stage is the development of the portfolio itself. So, while talking about portfolio, now let's talk about the different types of portfolios. These portfolios are just examples, but actually there's still a lot of portfolios out there, but these are the major types of portfolios. We have a documentation portfolio, process portfolio, and showcase portfolio. Documentation portfolio speaks for itself. The documentation that you are doing in giving the progress report, something like that. Process portfolio is how was it done. Showcase portfolio is like giving the best entries of every quarter or every specific topic that you have. Note that teachers should decide before the start of each quarter what type of portfolio they will require of their students. So we need to think now, are we ready to give our students the portfolio assessment that they need to have? Are we ready to prepare the necessary parts of the portfolio for them? I guess I can give this as a challenge to our teachers that we can start maybe next quarter to give our learners portfolio assessment. Hence, during the break, I think we can give we have ample amount of time. Well, it's for our family, but I guess as teachers, we can still give some parts of it and prepare the necessary things that are important in making portfolio assessment available for our learners. This is not just for our learners, but this will also help us teachers to assess our part as teachers. Did we do our best for our learners? Now let's talk about the communicating the assessment task. In communicating the assessment task, teachers must ensure that the following details are explained to the learners and might as well to their parents. First is objectives of the assessment task. We need to give objectives to our learners so that learners will know what to do and what to achieve in the specific task or assessment task. Next is the role of learners and parents or guardians. We need to tell the learners, our learners, what are their roles in doing this assessment. And also to tell the parents what are their roles also, because in telling the roles of the learners and parents, learners will know what to do and parents can help their learners in doing this assessment task. This is to ensure that collaboration within parents and students are still available during this school works that the students are learning. Next is the procedure and expected timeline. We need to provide our learners what they need to do. That's why we're giving them guidelines and other standards that they need to do during this task. Also, we need to give them an expected timeline. This is to ensure that our learners are still on track in doing their assessments. And also, so this will enable us to check if learners can do well in a specific time frame. And lastly, we need to give standards and rubrics so that learners will know how they will be checked, what specific aspect of the assessment they need to do, and what percentage will it give them for this assessment task. So the teachers must consult the learners and when necessary, parents and guardians to allow room for adjustments or flexibilities needed, if any. So teachers must always be beside the learners as they grow in making their task or any other activities in school. Also, we need to tell our parents, the parents of our learners, so that we'll be able to check every now and then. There's a check and balance. If our learners are different in how they do well in class or at home, we have to have a check if how our learners do their task in school is the same in how they do their task at home or the other way around. This is to ensure that our learners are still guided in every endeavor that they are doing. So, now let's proceed with Teacher Marijul for the records of progress.
Records of progress. Why do we keep a record of student progress? Why is it important to keep record of each student in our class? Keeping all the records can provide specific detail and documentation. That's why it is important. The collection and recording of evidences of learning is integral for monitoring student learning and development. Listed below are some sample strategies for this purpose. Number one for this is the self-monitoring tool. See Annex A in the Deped Order number 31, Series 2020. Okay, here is the sample self-monitoring tool. Okay, pangalan ng mag-aaral, para sa mag-aaral. Okay. You can visit your Deped Order number 31 series of 2020 para sa magulang o guardian at para sa mga guro. Okay. Consider the needs of learners per key stage, example, early grades and need assistance from parents while older learners are expected to accomplish self-reflection tools on their own. Teacher-learner follow-up during assessment period through home visitation, phone call, or video messages. As a teacher, we will let our learners follow up. We will visit them, what they are doing, and how they answer their learning activity sheets. Letter C, evidence of learning in the student's learning portfolio. Feedback and remediation. To benefit student learning, both formative and summative assessment must be accompanied with timely, constructive, and meaningful feedback based on the learner's record of progress. In giving feedback, teachers need to maximize available communication options. Example, writing feedback on the output, or after you have checked the output, you can write a feedback, texting feedback via SMS, and using online channels, among others. Okay, in Annex F, it provides a guide to help frame decisions on appropriate feedback to learners. Let us see this Annex F. Okay, this Annex F is the 3-level model of feedback. Okay, first level, feedback at task level. There are lots of questions for this model. Okay, just for this example, does his or her answer meet the success criteria? In his or her answer correct or incorrect? How can he or she elaborate on the answer? What did he or she do well? Where did he or she go wrong? What is the correct answer? What other information is needed to meet the criteria, and so on. That's for the feedback task level. For the feedback at process level, here are the questions that we need to ask. What strategies did he or she use? What is wrong and why? What is the explanation for the correct answer? For the information search strategies, what other questions can he or she ask about the task? What are the relationship between other parts of the task, and so on. For the feedback at self-regulation level, how can he or she monitor his or her own work done? How can he or she carry out self-checking? How can he or she evaluate the information provided? And how can he or she reflect on his own learning? Okay, that's all for the Annex F. Consistent with Deped Order number 8 series 2015, teachers should ensure that learners receive remediation when they earn raw scores, which are consistently below expectations in summative assessments by the 5th week of any quarter. This will prevent a student from failing in any learning area at the end of the year. So, teachers will visit or consult learners for them not to fail. Okay, because by the 5th week of any quarter, we're going to give them a remediation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marajul, for telling us how to give feedback and how we can check our learners during this time. So now let's continue. Again, I am Sir Philip. Let's continue on grading and promotion in the new normal according to the Department Order number 31 series of 2020. So written works and performance tasks shall be administered to assess the content and performance standards that describe the knowledge, abilities, and skills that learners are expected to demonstrate. These tasks should be designed to include the following. First, students' learning portfolio that documents all the evidence of learning within the grading period, including self-reflections, self-evaluations, and performance tasks guided by rubrics and self-selected best outputs in learning modules. A while ago, we have talked how to do portfolio assessment with our learners, what are the specific tasks, what are the parts of portfolio, and how we can give portfolio assessment to our learners. And I guess, again, this is a challenge for us teachers that hopefully we can give a portfolio assessment to our learners the second quarter. And also, just a hint, we should be prepared in giving portfolio assessment. We cannot give them in the middle of the quarter, 3 weeks before the quarter ends. It should be right from the start of the quarter that we want the portfolio for students to be made. Okay? So next is for our school, written work shall be from a minimum of 4 and maximum of 8 per quarter, while performance tasks shall be limited to a maximum of 2 per quarter for each subject. Performance tasks shall be preferably be integrating 2 or more competencies within the quarter. First, we need to talk. Ms. Marjo told us a while ago what performance assessment, what written works are, and what performance tasks are. Since we have different activities in our learning activity sheets that we give our students and together with the modules, we need to have at least 4 written works and a maximum of 8 written works to be included in our grading. This is per quarter. And also, we have a maximum of 2 performance tasks for our learners in every subject area. We can, for us to be able to check properly our performance tasks, it would be great and it would be best if we connect 3 or more competencies in making our performance tasks. Performance tasks, we know that this should be real life problems using the competencies they have learned from our previous lessons. So it would be best if we give them and we target a lot of competencies in one single performance task. Okay? Next, if possible, all competencies should be covered by performance tasks. We can do this by an example of integrated performance tasks that can assess science, math, and English all together for certain topics. These subjects are just example subjects. This is not necessary. We can have an integrated performance task together with physics. For the senior high school, we have physics subjects, we have mathematics subjects, we have personal development, we have PE, and all other subjects can make a one big performance task together with different learning areas. This is to ensure us that learners can still do things and connecting all these learning areas. It is highly recommended the teachers shall collaborate in making integrated performance tasks across disciplines. Since there are a lot of tasks, for example, when I was still teaching in a different institution, we made a performance task in Filipino, mathematics, and science. What we did is it's a grocery shopping list. Learners will be making the grocery, budget it, and buy it in a specific grocery store or any other grocery store that they want. So that is the mathematics part. For the science part, they are to read the ingredients and other things that they can get or nutrients they can get from these products that they have bought in the grocery stores. And while they present it, they'll be using the Filipino language. It is an example already of what integrated performance task is. So I guess we can do this. Can we do this in our school? Maybe. So let's see who is up for the challenge in doing integrated performance tasks in our school. And that will be a groundbreaking one for this school. So So for the current school year, it's very sad for us to know that we have experienced a very difficult situation, not just in our country, but all around the world since the global pandemic that we have. With this, quarterly assessment shall not be administered. However, days allotted for quarterly assessments in the Department Order Number 7, Series of 2020, or the school calendar and activities for school year 2020 to 2021, may be used for the presentation of major performance for the quarter that addresses the performance standard subject to face-to-face restrictions. So, here in this slide, we can see Table 1 with distribution of the summative assessment components per learning area for grades 1 to grades 10. Here we can see in the assessment components that there are only two components, written works and performance tasks. And there are changes in the weights of these components per subject areas. For languages, Araling Panlipunan and ESP, written works are given 40% of the grade and performance tasks are given 60% of their total grade. While for science and mathematics subject, written works are given 50% or half of their grade, and also performance tasks given 50% or half of their grade. MAPE, EPP, and TLE are given 30% for their written works and 70% for performance tasks. They are given there are more performance tasks since these subjects are performance-based subjects. They have practical exams or practical things that they need to do. For Table 2, weight distribution, summative assessment components for the senior high school program, still we have two different components in assessment. We have written works and performance tasks. For core subjects, we have 40% for written works and 60% for our performance tasks. In the academic track, all other subjects have 40% and 60% for 40% for written works and 60% for performance tasks, while work immersion, research, business enterprise simulation, exhibit and performance are 50% for written works and also 50% for performance tasks. For TVL, technical vocational livelihood, sports, arts and design tracks, all other subjects have 30%, performance tasks have 70%. Work immersion, research, exhibit and performance have 30% and 70%. Now let's continue Appendix B. So let's see Appendix B, the transportation table in the Department Order Number 8 Series of 2015. So this is the transmutation table that we need to follow. Following is the range of initial grades and their equivalent transmutated grades. That will be reflected in the report card. So these are initial grades. The second column is for the transmutated grade. So I guess we are very familiar with this one. Also, we have E-class records that directly converts the initial grade into the transmutated grade. So now let's have some activity. Let's see if you can be able to find the quarterly grade of the following set of scores in different subject areas. So what if student learner A wants to know her subject or her grade or his grade in if it's a science 8 subject? What if it's EPP 10 and what if it's Earth and Life core subject in grade 11? So we'll be giving you this activity and let's see who can check their answer. Okay, so I'll be giving you time for that. And do you have any other questions? You have no questions? Thank you so much for listening to our learning assessment in the new normal part 2. Again, I am Nino Philip Fernandez, together with my partner, Miss Marijol Avenido. Thank you so much. To end our presentation about learning assessment, let's close it with this quote. Effective classroom assessments clarify each student's journey up the scaffolding leading to each standard. It is never the case that first a student cannot meet a standard and then all at once he or she can. Over time, the students masters progressive levels of prerequisite learning that accumulate to mastery of the standard. Ongoing classroom assessment must track that progress in order to know at any point in time what comes next in the learning. Such continuous ongoing assessment is essential to a balanced classroom assessment system. In the final analysis, the ultimate test of effective assessment is simple. Does it provide teachers and students with the information they need to ensure that all students learn at higher levels? Again, thank you so much for listening. This is Learning Assessment in the New Normal Part 2. Thank you so much and good afternoon.